All right, and welcome once again, All Takes Valid, episode 50. As always, I go by Trill Trey, joined once again with SP21 R Spence and my main man Vick Bynum. So, Vic, why don't you go ahead and give them a rundown for today's episode?
All right. Well, first things first. Just want to say it's been fun with all the episodes that we've had up
You
until this
saying you
point.
saying bye?
This
It
is
sounds like he's saying goodbye, yo.
no, I ain't saying
Wow,
goodbye.
you
I ain't
just
I
saying
went.
finally
goodbye.
ran him off the show. He
Yeah.
didn't want that smoke.
Uh, if
Wow.
anything, I'll hit a bathroom break like Lamar. But anyway, um, I just want to share one thing real quick. It's off subject, um, but it was something that I found hilarious. It was in the news of the hip hop industry. I know this is a sports channel, but just want to kind of give a word to all the fellas out there. Um, the rapper Fugani or Fugano, some of y'all may or may not know. I
Yeah, I
may
know.
have butchered.
Yeah.
Yeah, him. Uh, I guess he's incarcerated at the moment, but he took a shot at Trey Songz because he was he put a shout out. Well, he put his girl, Fugani or Fugano, and
Yeah.
his story on Instagram,
Mm.
and that Fugano had clapped back saying at Trey that when I get out, he's gonna slap him and his security guard, just kind of like shorten the story, and all about some chick that he's still dating. I guess she's holding him down while he locked up, and for one, fellas, obviously we all know Mr. Trey Songz, like his logo, um his
Mr.
saying
Still Your
is
Girl.
Mr. Still Your Girl. So
Oh yeah, Mr. Steve Girl.
but it's really not that deep. Fugano, if you want to go ahead and try to end somebody's life, because that's what he said, he's gonna end his music career. Um Basically not in, literal terms, but like probably
Yeah.
death or just a beating. It ain't worth it, man. I mean, ain't no telling what she doing behind the scenes, because she hasn't said anything. She hasn't, commented, nothing like that. I don't follow either one. It's just something that I overheard on a YouTube video, and I thought it was hilarious. I'm just like, this man's really willing to. I mean, either way, either he's gonna get his cheeks clapped, or she gonna get her cheeks clapped, or either one. It might be both. So I mean, it's just like you willing to settle some beef or whatever because some your girl's showing her unloyalty, even though she may not be doing it out in public. But just fellas, protect yourself. Never fight over a female, because as Chris Brown and Lil Wayne said, these females ain't loyal. So, but with that being said, for today's episode, we are going to be talking about the NFL. They just released and announced the new was it 18 games?
17 game schedule.
17.
17, yeah, 17 games, 18 weeks. But 17 game schedule, uh, followed by we will be talking about the other latest news in the NFL or NBA. And we have the continuation of the Washington football team, which will be the second one. But first, we'll start off with the Las Vegas Raiders as our first team that we'll be talking about today at, I believe that's pick 17. The Raiders pick at pick 17. We'll talk about them first, followed by the Washington football team. Well, we already talked about the Miami Dolphins. So just in case some people are like, wait, y'all missed a team. We talked about this other team was the Miami Dolphins that pick at 18. So again, we've already talked about the Dolphins. We're going to talk about the Washington football team at 19. So with that being said, NFL just released the new, well, the games for week, the new week 17 schedule. Um, Trey, what are your thoughts on this?
All right. So first off, episode 50. So just wanna, shout out to ourselves. First off, us being consistent, and there's sometimes I don't wanna, you might be having a bad day and I don't really want to see Vick's face, but I still get on here
The feelings
and
mutual.
make sure that we get this podcast recorded for the week. So doubling up 2 times a week. So just shout out to us and the consistency, and yeah, more to come.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
to all of the people who share, like, comment, any suggestions, feedback, positive, negative, whatever the case is. There was a comment that was kind of funny from one of the last videos.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I seen it.
I don't know if he was talking about, I don't know which one, I think he was talking about you, Vic, but I'm not
Uh,
sure, because he said, because I was confused because he said a Cardinal fan, and I'm like,
we
none
don't
of us
know.
on here are Cardinals fans.
Yeah,
So I knew
Right.
I knew it wasn't me, but I
I was,
think Vic
I
was
was,
more so adamant about the Cardinals on that particular topic. So I want to say he was
uh,
talking about Vic, but
Right.
apparently
The
we don't have
Cardinals, man.
apparently we don't have
I
chemistry.
don't know.
Apparently we don't gel well together, guys. But I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard it in what, 49 episodes. I
What?
mean,
Mhm.
that's cool. Again, all feedback is welcomed. I appreciate that. I thank you for the like, the view, the dislike, all that. We take all
Yeah.
that. We just can only keep growing from here. So appreciate that. Episode 50, real quick. And
He's,
yeah,
yeah, he's,
I don't know. I just
yeah,
thought
you,
I thought that was funny. I was so confused about that comment.
yeah. I had to watch that episode, and I was just like, he was saying like, I guess somebody kept like interrupting or whatever, and I was just like, I didn't see who he was talking. I couldn't tell who he was talking about. It was either between me or Spence, and I'm like,
Yeah.
neither one of us. I mean, obviously, we all know we're not Cardinals fans here. We
Yeah.
like the Cardinals, but it was
He
funny.
said them boys was he said he was annoying. I can't watch it. I was like, oh. Yeah, get it together, Spence. Wait
I
your
guess it's
turn.
me. Whatever.
Wait your turn. You wait your turn.
Whatever. Whatever.
But yeah, again, episode 50. Seems like 100 will be here before you know it. So just thank you to you guys for. I had to pick a couple people when I was gonna start this who I could rely on more or less to be consistent along with me. So shout out to y'all, and then we can just go ahead and get into it. But episode 50.
The ovation.
Right. But now on to week 7 or week 17, 17 game season.
Yeah.
Um so there's been a lot of players don't like this, obviously. Alvin Kamara is one of the main ones I've seen speak out about it. A couple other players. I got two things. I feel them from the point of, I guess, like health wise, safety concern wise. That's an extra game that they kind of feel, I guess, is not needed or whatever. This is the first time in like over 40 something years, probably longer, that they're changing the format. Like, it's been a 16 game format since like the mid to late 70s. Like, it's been a 16 game season, despite there's been some shorter seasons throughout the NFL due to either a strike or different stuff like that. But holdout, like you remember, we had the lockout one year. That particular year, the most recent one though, I think that was 2010. That one we still got to get all 17 games on, but I think there was a prior lockout.
Right.
You're probably way younger, but there was a prior lockout that they had a shortened season because of it. But nonetheless, for the most part, 16 games has been pretty much the standard for the NFL since we've been alive, I can say, at least, right? Since we've been watching football. It's always been 16 games. So I just feel like they're changing a lot of stuff we didn't ask for. You already added an extra playoff team, which some people like it, some people don't like it. Some people feel like it waters down the competition level, which for the AFC this year, it wasn't too bad because there were still teams like the Dolphins who won 10 games who didn't even make the playoffs, even with an extra team. But then on the NFC side, you could say certain teams like, let's say, I
Oh,
can't say the football team because they got to go by default because it's a division. But Chicago, for
Yeah.
example, Chicago should not have made the playoffs, but because there's that extra seed, they got that spot. But my whole thing is like I don't want to say they're watering down the NFL, but if you look at the NBA, hockey, especially baseball too, is like there's so many games during the season. It's kind of it's kind of hard to care about the regular season in a lot of those. Like basketball, I don't really get into it until after All-Star break, to be honest, just because there's so many I won't say meaningless games, but in the end, they are kind of meaningless games. Like I kind of feel
they're
like
most
they're go ahead.
they're mostly of like evals, really. Just
Yeah,
evaluations, really. Just like, okay, this is how the team rolls. Let's see, maybe before trade deadlines, we could probably get somebody better here and anything like that before we try to make a push.
right.
That's to
So,
me it is.
but in the NFL, it's always been more so like, okay, every game really counts because the games are so scarce. There's only 16 games. So with that, with them doing that now, like just think about the number 2 seed. The number 2 seed at this point doesn't even matter at this point. So if you can't catch the 1 seed, the number 2 seed really has no meaning anymore in the NFL because they expanded the playoffs now. Where I thought it was always fair to me that the top 2 teams should get a bye. The 1 seed would control the home field advantage. That was the distinguishing difference between the two. But I felt like it's hard to make the playoffs as it is. So to be the 2 seed, let alone 1 seed, is that difficult. But now they took away that, and I get it. It's a money grab because
Mhm.
that's the extra eyes, that's the extra game, that's extra merchandise or jerseys that are selling, extra hot dogs, extra beer, more TV, more TV. Like it's more football. So it's like as a fan, I like it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna watch the 17th game, obviously, right? But I get why some of the players, they aren't feeling it. But at the same time, the difference is the reason I don't feel bad at the same time is because when they had the whole bargaining agreement, the NFLPA and everything, they said there was a good 70% of people who didn't even vote, of the players who didn't even vote. So you can't you can't complain or agree to something or have it go through, and then once it passes, then you be like, oh nah, that's bull. I don't want to do it because you didn't say something when you had the chance to say it. So now it's here. It is what it is.
That sounds like an election that we had. The what was it
Topic.
2014 or 15? Most of the people didn't vote.
Yeah,
You get what you
it's
get.
pretty much That's it. It's easy at that
So
point.
next time, bring y'all behind, get that piece of paper or whatever the process is, that laptop, and put your vote in because every vote matters, as we have seen in the
That,
most recent election. But this ain't a
that's
political show.
that's so that's so backwards. Like never mind. Never mind. Just never mind.
So how do y'all feel
Uh
about the 17 game season though?
Uh,
um
go ahead, Spence.
okay. For me, as a fan, I am ecstatic. There's an extra game. That means I don't have to miss it longer. Or well, you don't. Well, you're gonna have to miss it longer because now they got to talk about all this recovery and stuff. But then I feel on the player side, especially those who actually voted against it, is like, yeah, that's a lot because normally, as you know, your body gets in a rhythm. It gets in a rhythm during time periods. Okay, during this time, we're gonna play hard, and then okay, we can recover, rest. Okay, slowly get back to it. Now I gotta do it longer. It might throw some people's cycles off, so we might get a little bit more like freaky incidents. Let me put it like that. So, as a fan, of course, I'm happy about it. But once again, I do understand, especially those who actually voted.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for me, uh, just to start off as a fan, it definitely, I definitely like it. Um, there's pros and cons to it. Like Trey alluded to, um, there's a possibility that a bad team can get in with the extra week, or there's a possibility that another good team that may need an extra week can potentially get in. As we've seen, we had the Dolphins. Dolphins at what was it, 10-6? They didn't make
Mm-hmm.
the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it was like they had a chance, obviously, with the added spot in the playoffs. Unfortunately, they didn't make it. But you see it on the AFC side, it was fairly competitive compared to the NFC side. It was competitive up in the top four spots, and then after that it was a drop off, obviously because you got the division leaders, and then you have you know actually top five because yeah, top five, six, seven, and eight were iffies. But regardless, but in terms
I,
for the players, obviously that sucks in a way for them because they're obviously adding a game, but I think the coaches will somehow manage to, I guess, load manage is the word that they use in basketball. So if they have a blowout or things in that sort, uh, just giving other players an extra opportunity to get in the game, or if that week 17 game, obviously they clinch their home field. You get to see a certain player that you probably hadn't seen all season, get some quality reps. Plus, financially, again on the body for the athletes is not so good, but
That's an
in their
extra paycheck
pockets,
too. Yeah.
it's exactly so it's an extra paycheck, which in terms you're going to see bigger contracts, bigger deals, especially average yearly gross for the players. You'll see contracts where they're going to get probably double, not double, but maybe a, a certain percentage increase, whether it's like five extra mil or whatnot, just added to their paycheck whenever they come for that contract negotiation. But excited for football, especially fantasy football. But
Yeah.
again,
How,
like
how would
we
that
said,
affect us with our
um,
fantasy football playoffs with an extra week?
I mean, honestly, that's depending on your league itself. You can keep it at the current format, or you can increase it, saying one more week. And I mean, it just all depends because, like our league, we end ours on week 16. Uh, no, actually, we we start ours on week 14. So yeah, we end ours on week 16. And that week 17 game, championship games are already done with. So unless if you increased your playoff format, or if you add an extra game to the regular season schedule for teams to have an opportunity to get in, that'd be the only way. Or if you have a double elimination, those are it all varies on what format you use in fantasy football.
All right. So before we kind of move on to the next topic or whatever here, I just want to give y'all. They released some of the notable game 17s they were adding. So you know how we've been going through, obviously
Yeah.
doing the all-season needs for each team. We've been looking at their schedule as is right now and giving out little projections. And then we've always been saying, well, it could be a game higher or a game less because we don't know who they're going to play for week 17. So it looks like they did it for some of the bigger teams or the better teams or so you got Week 17, you're going to have the Packers and Chiefs.
All right.
The Seattle Seahawks and the Steelers.
So Packers and Chiefs,
The Rams and the Ravens.
Rams,
That's a good one.
The
Ravens,
Cowboys and Patriots.
Dallas and
The
Dallas and
Cardinals and Browns. And then they didn't have this one on here, but a fan commented and they said that the Bucks and the Colts is also on the slotted for the week 17. So which that should be a good matchup as well. So those are all pretty. I'm not saying all those teams are going to be in the playoffs, but those sound just off the top of my head going through the list of teams that I just named, the matchups. It sounds like those could change certain teams, playoff implications. So let's say, for example, what did Casey finish this year?
Casey's record?
Yeah, what was their record?
That's a good question.
I'll look.
Because I want to say they were only like a game or so ahead of the Bills, if I'm correct, if I remember correctly. And if that's the case with a week 17 now and playing a team like the Packers, for example.
All right, so
that could change seeding. Week 17 could change a seeding potentially.
Okay, here you go. So the Chiefs were 14.
Go ahead.
The Chiefs were 14-2.
And what was the Bills record?
13-3.
Exactly. So that one, see the difference that makes now having a week 17. So whereas the Chiefs rested their players, they didn't start Mahomes that week 17.
Right.
Now you would really, or that week 16,
right?
You would really want to go ahead and you probably have to maybe play them a half, or I don't know how you would factor that in, because if they lose that week 17, then the number 2 seed can easily become the 1 seed, and now you got to go from having a bye week to going and playing a game next week. So
basically with this is it's one or nothing.
Well, I mean, not necessarily, because if they had like a 2-game lead on the Bills, it wouldn't matter. It just matters.
Right. But I'm saying
it just makes all those games.
I'm saying now, like the NFL teams now, like going on with this new like schedule, like look, if you want home field advantage, it's either number 1 or nothing.
I mean, yeah, that's it. But I just think that's interesting that some of the matchups that they have is those basically all sounded like they could have potential implications on playoffs.
9 teams in those games has been in playoffs.
Yeah, the Packers made it, the Chiefs made it, the Steelers made it, the Ravens made it, the Rams made it, the Seahawks made it, and the Browns made it, and then the Bucks and Colts had made it. Mm-hmm. So just imagine just the implications that would have had last year. So I guess that'll be an interesting aspect of it, as long as they got to make sure the week 17 are marquee matchups like that every season, because nobody's going to care if it's the Jaguars versus the Chiefs. Nobody's watching that.
Nobody's watching blowouts.
There's no risk for the Chiefs to potentially, lose the 1 seed. I mean, anything can happen, don't get me wrong, right? But real, like, you got to have marquee matchups for week 17 to make it more interesting, if that makes sense. Like how they do for Thanksgiving game. Well, I guess that's not a good example, because sometimes
you'll always get a Lions game, so you'll always get a Lions and Cowboys game. There's no way around it.
Well, I'll say for Christmas, because for Christmas they try to do right. Usually they get the Ravens and Steelers on Christmas. And records don't really matter in those games. Yeah, it's just. But
yeah, I hope on the next negotiation or whatever, or however they go about it, that they put better games for Thanksgiving. Because Christmas is usually always better, but yeah.
No, man, it's a
But
tradition.
the but the
Cowboys,
sad
Lions.
but the thing is an
What's that?
actual contract deal. This is that
Yeah.
those team. Yeah, it's an actual
Yeah, they
contract deal
have
they
to
have.
play on those
They
games.
have to play on those games.
So
They
the only
have
thing we
to.
can
Yeah.
hope is that those teams are actually good soon, so that the games don't suck.
Yeah. Oh
Well, I hope the
wow.
contract expires. They need
Jerry
to
Jones
renew it.
ain't getting off for Thanksgiving.
Jerry Jones
Know
definitely
that
gotta get on
he ain't
Thanksgiving.
doing it. You could take the
That's
Lions.
America's. That's America's team. Son.
Yeah,
As,
not
as
my
long as they're getting
ain't
whoopings,
my
I'm cool
team,
with it.
not my America.
Nah, I'm good on that one, homie.
All right, but yeah, with that said, here we can go ahead and move on to the next topic.